My phone buzzed at 2:13 in the morning. One voice note from a number I had deleted 3 years ago, from a number that belonged to a dead man. I stared at the screen for almost a full minute before I touched it. The contact photo was still there. My best friend, Mason, grinning on a beach we visited together back in college. He had been dead for 3 years. Car accident, closed casket. I gave a speech at his funeral that I still can't remember writing. He pressed play with my thumb shaking for words. His voice, exactly the way I remembered it, a little rough, a little tired, and opened the door. He sat up straight in bed. My heart was already pounding before my brain caught up to what I just heard. I checked the timestamp. Set 1 minute ago. Not 3 years ago. Not some old saved file resurfacing. 1 minute ago. Then I heard it. A soft knock at my front door. I want to tell you I didn't move. I want to tell you I was brave. The truth is I sat frozen on my bed, staring at my bedroom door, counting my own heartbeat for almost 10 minutes. The knock never came again. Eventually, I told myself it was the wind or a neighbor at the wrong apartment, or my imagination filling in gaps that grief had left behind. I almost convinced myself of that, almost. 3 years before that night, Mason and I had been inseparable. We grew up 2 houses apart. We learned to drive in the same beat-up Honda. We promised each other, the way young dumb guys do, that whoever died first would find a way to warn the other before something bad happened. We laughed about it. We never thought either of us would actually die at 26. After the funeral, I kept his number saved for almost a year before I finally deleted it. Seeing his name pop up in my contacts hurt too much. I remember thinking, at the time, that deleting it felt like killing him a second time. So, when his name reappeared on my screen that night, sending me a voice note with a timestamp from 60 seconds earlier, I didn't know what frightened me more, the message itself, or the fact that deleted numbers aren't supposed to come back. The next morning I told myself it was a prank, some glitch, a scammer who somehow cloned his voice using old videos online. People do that now. I'd seen the news stories. I almost felt relieved believing that explanation. Then it happened again 12 nights later, same time, almost to the minute. My phone buzzed, same contact, same dead man's photo. This time the message was longer. Check the stove before you leave for work. I laughed out loud when I heard it, half from nerves, half from disbelief. I hadn't even thought about the stove. I walked into my kitchen anyway, just to settle my own mind. The front left burner was glowing orange. I had no memory of turning it on. If I had left for work right then, the way I normally did, I would have left an active burner and attended for 9 hours in an apartment with old wiring and a landlord who never replaced the smoke detectors. I stood there with my hand over my mouth, staring at that little orange ring of fire, trying to figure out how a dead man's phone number knew something I didn't even know about myself. That was the moment I stopped believing in pranks. I called my carrier the next day, sitting in the parking lot before work, my hands cold despite the heat outside. I asked them to trace any incoming calls or texts from that number in the past week. The woman on the line went quiet for a moment, then told me that number had been permanently disconnected for 2 years and 7 months. No new activity, no reactivation, nothing. I asked her to check again. She did. Same answer. I sat in my car for 20 minutes after that call, just breathing, watching people walk past with their morning coffee like the world was still a normal place. According to my carrier, the messages I had received did not exist. According to my phone, they very clearly did. I started recording the timestamps obsessively after that. Every message, every minute, cross-referencing them with anything that happened around me. A pattern started to form, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Every single voice note arrived exactly 60 seconds before something happened. Not a minute after, not 5 minutes before. Exactly 60 seconds. Like clockwork, like something or someone was watching my life unfold 1 minute into the future and rushing to warn me just in time. I told one person, my coworker, Priya, I trusted her, and I needed someone outside my own head to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. She listened to one of the recordings with me, her face slowly draining of color. "That's definitely him," she said. "I remember him from the office party years ago. That's definitely his voice." She didn't sleep over at my place that night, even though I asked. Nobody wants to spend the night somewhere that receives messages from the dead. I understood. I wished I had the option to leave too. The messages kept coming. Small things at first. "Watch your step on the stairs. The elevator is going to stop working. Don't answer unknown numbers today." Each one came true with terrifying precision. The stairs had a loose board I never noticed. The elevator got stuck for 40 minutes with someone trapped inside 15 seconds after I read about the warning. An unknown number did call, 3 times in a row, with nothing but silence on the other end when I almost picked up out of curiosity. I started to feel less afraid and more comforted, which I now understand was the most dangerous mistake I could have made, because the messages were about to become personal in a way I never expected. Get out of the bathroom. Now, that one came while I was brushing my teeth, my phone resting on the sink beside me. I heard it through the speaker, dropped my toothbrush into the sink, and stumbled out into the hallway without thinking. Less than a minute later, the old light fixture above the mirror sparked, cracked, and shattered glass across the exact spot where my head had been standing. I stood in my hallway shaking, staring at my own reflection through the bathroom doorway, glass glittering across the tile like ice. If I had stayed even 10 more seconds, that fixture would have come down directly on top of me. For the first time since the messages started, I didn't feel grateful. I felt hunted. Something or someone knew exactly where I would be standing, down to the second every single day. That isn't protection. That's surveillance. I needed answers. I needed to understand how a dead man's voice was tracking my life with mathematical precision. So, I did the one thing I had avoided for 3 years. I drove out to Mason's old apartment, the one his parents still hadn't fully cleared out, sitting untouched like a museum of unfinished grief. His mother let me in without asking many questions. She looked older than I remembered, the kind of tired that never fully leaves a parent's face after losing a child. She told me I could look through his old things if it would help me find peace. I wasn't looking for peace. I was looking for an explanation. In the back of his closet behind a stack of old textbooks, I found a small black notebook filled with his handwriting. Pages and pages of timestamps. Tiny observations written next to each one. "The mailman will be early today. 3:14 p.m. The neighbor's dog will bark exactly 4 times. At 6 p.m. power will flicker at 9:01 p.m. Every single entry was followed days later by a single word and read incorrect. Had been recording predictions of the immediate future for months before he died. Not big predictions. Small, mundane, and possibly specific predictions, all coming true exactly as written. I sat on his old bedroom floor with that notebook in my lap, feeling the kind of cold that has nothing to do with temperature. On the final page, dated the day before his accident, he had written something different, not an observation, a warning addressed directly to himself. "Tomorrow, 4:47 p.m. don't take the bridge." Underneath that line, in the same red ink as all his correct predictions, was a single word wrong. That was the only prediction in the entire notebook that didn't come true the way he expected. He took the bridge anyway. The accident happened at 4:47 p.m. exactly. I felt sick reading that. He had known. He had written down his own death a full day in advance, and somehow, for the first time in months of perfect predictions, he ignored his own warning. Why would someone who trusted dozens of correct predictions suddenly disregard the one that mattered most? Unless he didn't ignore it. Unless something stopped him from listening. I found an app folder on an old tablet charging in the corner of his room. Something his mother said she never bothered opening. The app was called Echo, no description, no developer name, just a plain black icon shaped like a singular. When I opened it, it asked for a phone number to sync to. I typed in my own number before I could stop myself. The screen flickered, then displayed a single line of text: sync complete, Echo active. I dropped that tablet like it had burned me. Driving home that night, I kept replaying his notebook in my head. Months of perfect predictions, then one single failure on the one day that mattered. The app hadn't failed him by sending a wrong warning. The timing felt different, like the warning came too late to matter, or like something deliberately delayed it just long enough. I started wondering if Echo wasn't predicting the future at all. What if it was recording something that already happened in a version of time slightly ahead of ours, and broadcasting it backward, 1 minute at a time, like a radio signal bouncing off something none of us can see? What if Mason hadn't been warning me out of love? What if he had simply been the first person Echo ever attached itself to, and when he died, it didn't lose its signal? It just needed a new person to listen. Me? That night, lying in bed with the tablet now sitting beside my actual phone, I heard something I had never heard before. Not a notification, not a voice note, a faint static hum coming from both devices at once, perfectly synced, like two hearts beating in rhythm. Then my own voice came through the speaker. Not Mason's, mine. I felt my blood turn to ice. The message was time-stamped 1 minute in the future. Don't look behind you. I didn't move for a long time. I stared straight ahead at my bedroom wall, listening to every small sound in my apartment, trying to convince myself that nothing was behind me, that nothing could possibly be behind me, that I was alone the way I had been every night for 3 years. The clock on my nightstand ticked over to the exact minute mark. I heard breathing behind me, slow, patient, not mine. I want to tell you I turned around. I want to tell you I saw something, or nothing, or anything that would give this story a clean ending. The truth is, the next thing I remember is waking up on my bedroom floor the following morning, my phone clutched so tightly in my hand that my fingers had gone numb. There was one final voice note waiting for me, sent at 2:13 a.m. the exact same minute my very first message had arrived, 3 years to the day after Mason died. This one had no words, just heavy breathing, slow and deliberate, stretching for almost 10 full seconds. Then, right at the end, a single sentence, spoken in a voice that took me a moment to recognize. My own voice. Calm, almost satisfied. Too late. I haven't deleted that app. I haven't deleted that number. Some nights I tell myself I should throw my phone into the river and start over somewhere Echo has never heard of me. Other nights, I find myself checking the timestamp on my screen, wondering what I'm about to hear myself say 60 seconds from now, and whether I'll have any choice in whether I listen. If your phone ever buzzes once, in the middle of the night, from a number that shouldn't exist anymore, don't be relieved when the voice sounds familiar. Comfort was never the point. Echo doesn't warn the people it attaches to. It simply waits for them to become the next voice it needs. And somewhere on a phone exactly like yours, a message is already recording. You just haven't heard it yet.